Alright, so this is part two of episode two's explanation. Anyway, so we go back to the fact that we're in the class session. That's just such. Long story short, so we're trying to explain. Asama takes over, and then out of nowhere, after the explanation is done, and you learn a whole bunch of stuff about about history from a long time ago, you come across Aoi Tori, who's like sleeping in class and shit, and he says, "Yeah, that was a pretty good explanation." And yes, whatever though, but yo, and then the teacher just interrupts him and shit, and then he's like, "Yo, you ain't do work in my class, so guess what? Since you ain't do work in my class, penalty, son." So, Aoi Tori got a stupid look on his face, like, "Wait, penalty? What are you talking about?" He was like, "Oh, you forgot? You gave me a whole bunch of penalties in case you never did my work in my class." So he was like, "All right, what is it this time?" She said, "Get to stripping." So, okay, normally pause. Think about it for a minute there. In class, when the hell does the teacher have the right to tell a student to strip? Take a minute to think about this. That is fucking wrong. Now, it would be, alright, no offense to the females out there. Now, it would work for females and males alike. But if you had the right to tell the teacher to strip in class, tell me that you wouldn't do it. Females, you tell the males to strip. Males would tell the females to strip. It's like, it's in the core of the mind. You can't help that. It's a thought. It's a relevant thought that can't be pushed aside. So, but anyway, yeah. So they doing all that dumb shit. It's freaking Aoi Tori's being stupid and stripping in class and shit. So, and of course, as he's doing that, on the other side with the other class next to them, they hear him going strip, 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 and the freaking teacher teaching the class like, "Oh my fucking god, you mean to tell me that a kid in there is actually stripping? That is so... we're done." So, and of course all the students in there hear it too, so their faces look absolutely retarded too, which is actually, their faces are pretty funny. So, along with the teacher's face. So it's hilarious. So after all of that, freaking... another character, I'm not gonna say he isn't of important significance in the anime, but he does appear a good amount of times within the anime. King of Musashi appears with a student who's going to be attending a class in there, attending Aoi Tori's class, or the main protagonist's class in general. So he goes in there right before they enter. The King of Musashi hears him going strip, strip, and then you hear him going through him like, "No, no, stop! This is so wrong!" And then of course the King of Musashi hears us shit, comes and say, "What the fuck are you doing?" And then of course they see Aoi Tori absolutely stripped and no clothes on, and so the teacher runs to the door and slams that shit, and then runs out and like, "Alright, you didn't see anything. Hold up, Caesar Kid, I will get you a room. Just wait 1 second." Dashes like with the quickness into the other room, and then stops all that shit, and then some shit happens afterwards. So yeah, you get a really stupid retarded part afterwards. And then out of nowhere you come back to the automated doll of Masazumi, and they're both at a grave. And of course Horizon noticed that the grave that Masazumi was standing in front of was that Masazumi's grave. So of course Horizon decides to ask some questions, and so Masazumi decides to tell a little story about Masazumi and him and her's mother. So, but he doesn't decide to. He explains that story after the automated doll decides to sing this song, which you hear a lot, pretty frequent in the beginning of each episode. So, after that song is sung, Masazumi sings it with her, and then of course a flashback comes up where you see Masazumi as a child and the mother singing the song together and shit. So, and then you get a small flashback, and then of course Masazumi starts crying and weeping about the fact that her mother died and shit. And so you find out, and she gives reason why her mother died. So, and then out of nowhere, bingo, random event happens. Some big ass ship comes out of the sky, randomly out of the sky, and then you hear an announcement from the ship saying how supposedly, guess what, some random guy, the ruler of Musashi, not the king, even though ruler and king are technically the same thing, but the ruler of Musashi has more power than the king, because the king is just a small fraction of higher power in Musashi, the ruler, being the one who brought Musashi about, came and gave a big announcement on how we're gonna make shit interesting and we're gonna throw fireworks to the city and let people enjoy themselves. Take note, the word fireworks. For the people that already seen this anime, you already know that fireworks it didn't seem sus at first, but then further in the anime, when you found out what the fireworks actually meant, you was like, what the fuck? You mean that's what the fireworks was? So take note, the people that didn't watch it, that word fireworks is the key word that will bring you to many different large parts of information during parts throughout the anime. So yeah, that's a pretty thing that you need to realize. Not out of nowhere, you come back to the class and all of them are just chilling in the front of the school on the staircase, and they're talking about different ways that Aoditori can approach this automated doll and tell him how he could tell her how he feels. So, and of course they just say a whole bunch of dumb shit, and it's a small little comedian part on how they're going about trying to tell him, and then Aoditori's like, yo, oh, look, Tenzo, who, Aoditori decides to ask Tenzo, oh, so you've been with girls, right? Yo, how would you give me some advice on how to approach this chick? So Tenzo's like, yo, I got you right now, hold up. Take a notepad, a pen and paper, whatever you got, write down how you feel about it, and you give it to her. Bing, bada, boom, bam, there you got it. She's automatically yours. So Aoditori takes that into consideration, takes out a pen and paper and decides to start writing shit down. But don't forget, as he's writing, there's something that he's forgetting in that note. And then the robot says some shit. He's like, wait a minute, did you forget Aoditori forgot to mention one big thing? Don't forget, Aoditori's a boob man. This guy loves breast. And he didn't mention that in the letter. That's crazy. So why didn't he didn't... Out of all the things he could have mentioned in that love letter, he didn't mention boobs. That caught the whole class by surprise. So he was like, hold on, let me write that down too. So you write that down, and he's like, yeah. And then out of nowhere, Kimi Aoi, Aoditori's sister, says, yo, wait, hold on, I think you need to do a little test drive, brother. I think you need to make sure that you're ready for this. So how about you use one of the girls in our class as a test drive? So all the guys are like, what the fuck, what do you mean? He's like, Aoditori's like, that's genius, sis, you're a genius. Let's do that. So out of nowhere, Nato, one of the other main protagonists in the anime, who happens to be a part of the Royal Knights, happens to come out of nowhere with President Sakai. And so Aoditori decides to test it on her after President finds out that Aoditori is going to use Horizon, is going to axe Horizon out. So, and they had to come to a little small agreement that that's technically a good idea for him, for Aoditori. So, and all that shit, and of course they have a small little chat. President Sakai and Aoi have a small little chat. So they're like such and such, and then a whole bunch of other shit, and he's like, yes. So yeah, and then back to the fact, after they're done talking, Aoditori decides to check it. So after President Sakai leaves, after the president leaves, Kimi comes and asks Tori, little brother, did you forget you gotta do your little test drive? So he's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. You just reminded me. Hey. So Kimi goes to Nato, the chick, and says, there's something I need to tell you. There's only something you can do to help my brother's dilemma. You need to do this for me, please. So Nato's like, okay, sure, I'll do it. I'll do anything. I'm a knight. I'm supposed to help the people. So she made it seem all serious and shit. And so Tori walks up to her and is like, alright, may I? And she was like, of course, I'd be glad to offer my breast to you. Now, she's not really sure what he meant by allowing her to offer her breast to him. So he says, alright, here I go. So he grabs her breast and checks it. And of course, he grabs them and he's like, check it, she's braless. Now, girls, don't be mad at me, but of course, that's what happens in the anime. He's the kind of guy that checks a chest. He's a broad check. He's a boob checker. So he's like, let me quote it. Are you sure? Yes, I shall present my bosom to help you rehearse for the big event. Being actually the Horizon out. Then I won't hold back. So he touches her, and the girl's like, oh no. And so he puts his head on her chest, and he's like, yeah, let me check. And so all the guys are like, how is it? She's braless. And so everybody's like, oh shit. And then he was like, yo, I owe you. This is definitely gonna help me ask her out now. So the girl's like, I'ma fucking kill you. Just like the teacher did in the first episode. And so she punched the living shit out of him, and he does a super extremely low all the way up the steps and into the building. So, and she gets tight as she walks off, so. And shit like that. So, yeah, it's crazy. This part is actually a lot longer than the first one, even though I said I don't want it longer than 9 minutes. But and then you come to this small little thing where President Sakai and Masazumi are walking together, and they're having a small talk about what Masazumi should do to find out the truth, or the reason why Masazumi should look into Remorse Way. So, and of course they see the KPA Italia, the Holiness, who's the leader of KPA, this organization, flies by, and they talk about how he's supposed to be stopping by Mikawa and shit. So, and after that, it's like, and out of nowhere, that pretty much the end of the episode comes, and he tells you, President Sakai says to Masazumi, it is all on you. You must decide what you have to do. Now take that in mind. What he says is going to affect Masazumi throughout the rest of the anime, and throughout the next futuristic episodes. Masazumi must make some really difficult choices. And remember, the narration of this episode is all still based on Masazumi. Take note, it's still focused on Masazumi alone. This is episode 2, guys.